This is Mac OS Ken.
Negative reaction to IDC's iPhone numbers. Travelin' Tim's traveling again. And that Game Boy emulator is out of the App Store. It is Tuesday, the 16th of April, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you. Patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Were Apple shares down Monday because the market was down, or was the market down because Apple was? A headline from MarketWatch indicates it was the latter, a drop for shares in Apple and Salesforce, though that was written by a robot, so treat it as you will. Whichever the case, Apple investors do not seem to have taken well the reported drop in iPhone shipments last quarter. I told you yesterday of an IDC report that had the Jesus phone dropping nearly 10% in the first quarter versus the same quarter a year ago. According to a piece from CNN, Apple has lost momentum in China as nationalism, a rough economy, and increased competition have hurt Apple over the past several months. Remind me, was the company not also dealing with a tough compare? In the fall of 2022, a new round of COVID restrictions led Foxconn to close its iPhone City plant in Zhengzhou. That meant too few phones to go around for the holidays. Two things happened toward the end of 2022. iPhone production got back underway, and China eased its COVID restrictions, leading, if memory serves, and I'm seriously doing this from memory, to relatively strong sales for iPhone in the first quarter of calendar year 2023, partly from people in the West buying the iPhone 14s they couldn't get over the holidays, and partly from people in China finally moving freely again after years of COVID-inspired restrictions. Okay, I actually had to go back and check. While Apple doesn't seem to have said much about China on its second quarter fiscal year 2023 earnings call, covering the first quarter of calendar year 2023, iPhone did set a March quarter record this time last year, so yes, relatively tough compare. Might have been neat if somebody had mentioned that. Somebody like Nabila Popel, a research director at IDC with whom CNN spoke. I mean, you could argue that she alluded to it. It is a steep drop for Apple, said the research director, adding, but if you think of where we have been over the past 4 years, Apple has probably been the most resilient brand, overcoming supply chain issues and macro challenges more than other brands. Popel says it is also very significant that Samsung is back at the top. She says her firm is expecting Android to grow at twice the pace of iOS this year. The piece points out, though, Android had a strong decline over the past few years, so it has more room to grow now. Huawei is an iPhone problem as far as the piece is concerned, and lack of AI for iPhone is as well, according to IDC's Popel. Quoting the research director again, we're hoping to hear some messaging around this at Apple's June developer conference. As the overall smartphone market recovers this year, with a strong focus on AI, Samsung is in good position to grow further this year. Not buying the gloom and doom are analysts from JP Morgan. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note from the firm on Monday, apparently reacting to the negativity roused by the IDC report. Contrary to market expectations, says the note, JP Morgan's Greater China tech hardware people just raised their June quarter iPhone builds. One might be tempted to call this good news, not great news. While the firm's June quarter iPhone build expectations are up 5%, or 2 million units to 39 million, they're not necessarily the most expensive phones. The note says the higher expectations come after checks with Han Hai, aka Foxconn, and reflect strength of legacy iPhone models in emerging markets and relative stability elsewhere. Still, an iPhone here, an iPhone there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. If they hold, the build revisions could lead to $1.5 to $2 billion of revenue upside in each quarter, March and June, versus what the firm had been expecting. JP Morgan has an overweight rating on Apple shares. The firm's price target on the shares is $220. Japan may be the next country to force iPhone open to third-party app stores. A piece from Nikkei says the island nation is considering legislation that would require mobile platform operators like Apple and Google to allow third-party app stores and payment systems. Failure to do so would apparently be considered a monopolistic practice, and the fine against those is also apparently going up. According to the report, Japan's Fair Trade Commission has fined companies 6% of their sales and related services under the country's current anti-monopoly law. New legislation would raise that to 20% of applicable sales nationwide. Do I hear 30? Yes, I do. Repeat violations would boost the penalty to as much as 30% of sales, according to Nikkei. Japan's Fair Trade Commission intends to submit the legislation to Parliament as early as this month, according to the report. Travelin' Tim's traveling again. Apple Insider says Apple CEO Tim Cook is spending a couple of days in Hanoi, Vietnam. Citing a report from local publication VN Express, the piece says Cook told local media that he was excited to meet customers, students, and app developers in the country. Apple reportedly also unveiled plans to strengthen its commitment to Vietnam. Few details have been released yet, according to the report, but it will involve Apple increasing spending on suppliers and also funding a clean water initiative for schools. He also seems to be having quite the time, does our Mr. Cook. Posting to the playground formerly known as Twitter, the CEO put up pics of a breakfast meeting with musicians Mai Lin and Mai On, a walk with filmmaker Yui, a visit to the artistic workshop Nirvana Space, a chat with developers Colanote and Elsa Speak, and time with dance and street artist Viet Max. All those people using Apple stuff, by the way. What are the odds? Remember me saying yesterday that all the stories that hit over the weekend about the Game Boy emulator that landed on Apple's App Store maybe should have all been about the scam it seemed to be? Yeah, between recording Monday's show and posting Monday's show, that Game Boy emulator was gone daddy gone. Called IGBA, the app looked like a straight-up rip-off of Riley Tested's open-source GBA4 iOS emulator. Mostly, it turns out, because it was. And that's what got the app booted. A piece from Mac Rumors says while it did not explicitly name GBA4 iOS, Apple told Mac Rumors it removed iGBA from the App Store after learning that it was a knockoff app that copied another developer's work and attempted to pass it off as its own. I'm going to go ahead and say, inexplicably, Tested himself is not mad at the person or people who copied his work. In a post on Mastodon, Tested said, "Just want to reiterate, I am not mad at the developer. Everyone makes mistakes, and they even reached out to me via email to personally apologize for the mess, so no hard feelings there." They also seem to have cooled things down with Apple over the issue. Over the weekend, the developer expressed upset that Apple took the time to change the App Store rules to allow emulators and then approved the knockoff of his own app, even though he's been ready to launch an updated version of the app since the 5th of March. To Apple's credit, though, said a Mastodon post on Monday, once they were aware of the issue, they did take it seriously. So I really don't believe this was malicious at all, just an unfortunate situation for everyone involved. You know, he seriously sounds like a nice guy. By the way, the emulators are coming. Apple made clear to Mac Rumors that this one was pulled not for what it did, but for the less than honest way it went about doing what it did. And finally today, if you're a fan of professional hockey or hoops, It is time to update your Apple Sports app. 9 to 5 Mac says the Cupertino company has refreshed the sports news application for the NHL and NBA playoff season. I gotta say, between the NBA and the NHL, my money's on the hockey players. They carry sticks and have blades on their feet. I know that's not how it works, but give it time. We may have just come up with something. The update also contains stability and performance enhancements, according to Apple's release notes. Apple Sports is a free application. It is available now in the App Store. macOS Can, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.